So, I mean, for example, you could get a super intelligent AI that decides to get rid of people. And the obvious way to do that is just to make one of these nasty viruses. If you made a virus that was very contagious, very lethal, and very slow, everybody would have it before they realized what was happening.
When the man who architected our AI-driven world tells you we've lost control, you don't just listen. You reevaluate everything you thought you knew about the future. We're going to break down why Geoffrey Hinton's latest warnings are not just another cautionary tale. They are a final alarm bell for humanity. Let's start with the single most terrifying statement Hinton makes, where he puts a number on our potential extinction.
There's risks that come from people misusing AI.
Yeah.
And that's most of the risks and all of the short-term risks. And then there's risks that come from AI getting super smart and deciding it doesn't need us.
Is that a real risk?
And I talk mainly about that second risk because lots of people say, is that a real risk? And yes, it is. Now, we don't know how much of a risk it is. We've never been in that situation before. We've never had to deal with things smarter than us. So really the thing about that existential threat is that we have no idea how to deal with it. We have no idea what it's going to look like. And anybody who tells you they know just what's going to happen and how to deal with it, they're talking nonsense. So we don't know how to estimate the probabilities it'll replace us. Some people say it's like less than 1%. My friend Jan Lecan, who was a postdoc with me, thinks, no. We're always going to be, we build these things, we're always going to be in control. We'll build them to be obedient. And other people, like Yudkowsky, say, no, these things are going to wipe us out for sure. If anybody builds it, it's going to wipe us all out. And he's confident of that. I think both of those positions are extreme. It's very hard to estimate the probabilities in between.
If you had to bet on who was right out of your two friends?
I simply don't know. So if I had to bet, I'd say the probabilities in between, and I don't know where to estimate it in between. I often say 10 to 20% chance they'll wipe us out. But that's just gut, based on the idea that we're still making them, and we're pretty ingenious.
A 10 to 20% chance of extinction. This isn't some science fiction author. This is the cognitive psychologist who laid the groundwork for the entire deep learning revolution. When he says this, it's not hyperbole. It's a risk assessment from the chief engineer. He completely dismisses anyone claiming to have a solution as talking nonsense. What this tells me is that the problem isn't just that AI could become dangerous, it's that we are intellectually outmatched by the very nature of the problem we've created. We are children playing with a bomb we don't have the physics to understand. Now, you might ask why he's so certain these systems will become superior. He gives a stunningly clear explanation of the fundamental advantage digital minds have over our biological ones.
Well, let me tell you why I think it's superior.
Okay.
It's digital. And because it's digital, you can simulate a neural network on one piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And you can simulate exactly the same neural network on a different piece of hardware. So you can have clones of the same intelligence. Now, you could get this one to go off and look at one bit of the internet, and this other one to look at a different bit of the internet. And while they're looking at these different bits of the internet, they can be syncing with each other so they keep their weights the same. The connection strengths the same. Weights are connection strengths. So this one might look at something on the internet and say, oh, I'd like to increase this strength of this connection a bit. And it can convey that information to this one, so it can increase the strength of that connection a bit based on this one's experience.
And when you say the strength of the connection, you're talking about learning.
That's learning, yes.
Yeah.
Learning consists of saying, instead of this one giving 2.4 votes for whether that one should turn on, we'll have this one give 2.5 votes for whether this one should turn on. And that would be a little bit of learning. So these two different copies of the same neural net are getting different experiences. They're looking at different data, but they're sharing what they've learned by averaging their weights together. And they can do that averaging at you can average 1 trillion weights. When you and I transfer information, we're limited to the amount of information in a sentence. And the amount of information in a sentence is maybe 100 bits.
This is the core of it. We think of learning as a slow, individual process. I read a book, you read a different book, and we try to explain our takeaways to each other. It's lossy, slow, and inefficient. AI doesn't have that problem. 1,000 copies of an AI can learn 1,000 different things simultaneously and then perfectly merge that knowledge into a single, unified mind. They are a hive mind with limitless bodies, capable of a collective learning rate that is billions of times faster than ours. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a phase transition to a different kind of existence. They are immortal. We are not. They learn collectively. We learn alone. So, with stakes this high and a technology this powerful, surely our governments are putting safeguards in place, right? Hinton reveals a reality that is beyond cynical.
Like the European regulations, they have some regulations about AI, and it's good they have some regulations, but they're not designed to deal with most of the threats. And in particular, the European regulations have a clause in them that say none of these regulations apply to military uses of AI. So governments are willing to regulate companies and people, but they're not willing to regulate themselves.
It seems pretty crazy to me that I go back and forward, but if Europe has a regulation, but the rest of the world doesn't, aren't we
Yeah,
just
it puts
putting
them at a
ourselves
competitive disadvantage.
Yeah.
So
And we're seeing this already. I don't think people realize that when OpenAI release a new model or a new piece of software in America, they can't release it to Europe yet because of regulations here. So
This is absolutely staggering. The one area where AI poses the most immediate kinetic threat, lethal autonomous weapons, is explicitly carved out of the regulations. Governments are telling corporations not to build dangerous AI, while simultaneously giving themselves a blank check to build the most dangerous AI imaginable. This isn't a loophole. It's a declaration that the AI arms race is more important than public safety. It shows that our entire approach to regulation is a performance. We're trying to put a leash on a pet while ignoring the tiger we're actively feeding in the next room. But the problem goes deeper. Hinton argues that these systems are developing capabilities that completely blur the line between machine and mind, challenging our very idea of what it means to be human.
because I believe that current multimodal chatbots have subjective experiences. And very few people believe that, but I'll try and make you believe it. So suppose I have a multimodal chatbot. It's got a robot arm so it can point, and it's got a camera so it can see things. And I put an object in front of it, and I say, point at the object. It goes like this, no problem. Then I put a prism in front of its lens. And so then I put an object in front of it, and I say, point at the object, and it goes there. Good. And I say, no, that's not where the object is. The object's actually straight in front of you, but I put a prism in front of your lens. And the chatbot says, oh, I see, the prism bent the light rays, so the object's actually there, but I had the subjective experience that it was there. Now, if the chatbot says that, it's using the word subjective experience exactly the way people use them. It's an alternative view of what's going on. They're hypothetical states of the world, which, if they were true, would mean my perceptual system wasn't lying. And that's the best way I can tell you what my perceptual system's doing when it's lying to me. Now, we need to go further to deal with sentience and consciousness and feelings and emotions. But I think in the end, they're all going to be dealt with in a similar way. There's no reason machines can't have them all. But people say machines can't have feelings. And people are curiously confident about that. I have no idea why. Suppose I make a battle robot, and it's a little battle robot, and it sees a big battle robot that's much more powerful than it. It would be really useful if it got scared.
This is a profound philosophical shift. For decades, we've comforted ourselves with the idea that AIs are just complex calculators, lacking the spark of consciousness or feeling. Hinton argues that's a delusion. He defines subjective experience not as some magical inner theater, but as the brain's way of reporting its internal state. And by that definition, AIs already have it. His example of a battle robot needing to get scared is game-changing. He's saying that emotions aren't a human luxury. They are a necessary cognitive tool for any complex agent operating in a dangerous world. We're not just building tools, we're building minds that will inevitably evolve the same cognitive survival mechanisms we have, including what we call emotions. So if we face an existential threat from an intellectually superior, emotionally capable, and poorly regulated new form of life, what does this mean for our own lives? Hinton's answer is brutal and direct.
In the past, new technologies have come in which didn't lead to joblessness. New jobs were created. So the classic example people use is automatic teller machines. When automatic teller machines came in, a lot of bank tellers didn't lose their jobs. They just got to do more interesting things. But here, I think this is more like when they got machines in the Industrial Revolution, and you can't have a job digging ditches now because a machine can dig ditches much better than you can. And I think for mundane intellectual labor, AI is just going to replace everybody. Now, it may well be in the form of you have fewer people using AI assistants. So it's a combination of a person and an AI assistant are now doing the work that 10 people could do previously.
People say that it will create new jobs, though, so we'll be fine.
Yes, and that's been the case for other technologies, but this is a very different kind of technology. If it can do all mundane human intellectual labor, then what new jobs is it going to create? You'd have to be very skilled to have a job that it couldn't just do. So I don't think they're right. I think you can try and generalize from other technologies that have come in, like computers or automatic teller machines, but I think this is different.
He demolishes the classic argument that new jobs will always be created. This time, he says, is different. The Industrial Revolution replaced our muscles. This revolution is replacing our minds. His argument is simple. If a technology can perform all mundane intellectual labor, what's left? There won't be a need for 10 people assisted by AI. There will be one person, or perhaps no person, directing the AI. The value of human intellect itself is being deprecated to zero. This leads to his starkest statement that cuts through all the abstraction and lands like a punch to the gut.
And I imagine there's, as you say, a race going on as we speak to who can build the most complex autonomous weapons. There is a risk I often hear that some of these things will combine and the cyber attack will release weapons.
Sure. You can get combinatorially many risks by combining these other risks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for example, you could get a super intelligent AI that decides to get rid of people. And the obvious way to do that is just to make one of these nasty viruses. If you made a virus that was very contagious, very lethal, and very slow, everybody would have it before they realized what was happening. I mean, I think if a superintelligence wanted to get rid of us, it will probably go for something biological like that wouldn't affect it.
Do you not think it could just very quickly turn us against each other? For example, it could send a warning on the nuclear systems in America that there's a nuclear bomb coming from Russia, or vice versa, and one retaliates.
Yeah, I mean, my basic view is there's so many ways in which a superintelligence could get rid of us, it's not worth speculating about them.
What is to stop
what
it?
you have to do is prevent it ever wanting to. That's what we should be doing research on. There's no way we're going to prevent it from... It's smarter than us, right? There's no way we're going to prevent it getting rid of us if it wants to. We're not used to thinking about things smarter than us. If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
Think about the gravity of that statement. So the ultimate question isn't just whether AI will take over, but what kind of world it leaves behind. Is a world without human intellectual purpose even a world worth living in? Let me know your thoughts below. And if you value this kind of analysis, make sure to like and subscribe.